morning and welcome to the Knowing Show. I'm feeling jazzed and fired up for today's conversation. We are diving into how do we balance our dreams, this AI world we live in, this new emergence of Web3, and how do we allow for the cultivation of our work, the things that we feel so called to, the things that frankly are really firing us up right now, while also maintaining at home. How do we allow for the tension that is our calling externally, but then also our internal environments to be vibrant and whole and healthy and well, all in alignment and predicated in ultimately what is required for us to be able to live a life we're proud of. We've had a really heavy week. We've lost lives. And frankly, this is a really important time for us to address this question of how do we maintain these relationships that are so near and dear to us while also doing that which we're called to do. And so, Adrian, I am so happy you're here. You are the perfect person to talk about this because you're pursuing some really big things in the AI and Web3 world. And you're also balancing your wife and your baby girl and your home. And it's just really beautiful watching the way you live. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited for this conversation. And one of the things that I'd love to ask you to just kick us off is when it comes to AI and Web3, can you kind of talk about, let's set the ground rules for the conversation we're about to have. What are you doing with Web3 and AI? And then we'll kind of talk about how you manage the day-to-day and just everything in between.
Yeah, this is a great place to start. So what a lot of people don't, I think, understand is that AI is the bridge from the old economy, which is what most people are still operating in, which is Web 2, to this new economy that's been emerging, that's been growing, that's been nurturing now for over a decade. And there's a way that people are going to migrate from Web 2 into Web 3. And what we're doing in SkillStacker and with Brand Butler is we're creating that bridge to help people go from Web 2 into Web 3, to put their brands, their businesses on chain. There's some stuff that we're working on the back end, but we want to be that bridge where I can help people migrate their money, unbank themselves, and move their money from the Web 2 fiat currency to the Web 3 space, because that is where our true power actually is. I look at fiat as the fake money and Web3 as the real economy, the thing that's actually going to emerge. Right now, we're at a $4 trillion market cap in Web3. What happens all of a sudden when that becomes a $50 trillion market cap, when all these retirement funds start moving in there? There's going to be a massive wealth transfer. And as the money trickles from Bitcoin down into Ethereum, down into the altcoins, there's going to be a lot of brands that receive that type of funding, and the projects that are actually solid, the ones that actually have real utility with real founders, real engineers, real developers, are going to see that influx of capital, because we're the ones building the picks, selling the picks and shovels right now. We're building the tools, the technology that's going to power this new economy, right? In 2 or 3 generations from now, when my daughter's talking to her grandkids, they're going to be like, oh, who created the Web3 space? Oh, people like my grandfather, and people like, right, my grandfather created this SkillStacker community that changed millions of lives, right? So we're trying to create a community platform, an economy, and utilities, tools, resources, all that type of stuff, AI tools that can move that Web 2 money into Web 3. And the bigger that gets, the more money that flows, the more people that come into Web 3, the more power we actually have.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. It's really exciting when I'm talking to someone who knows how to explain what they're doing, especially when it's so technological, and there is a gap, I think, for a lot of us who are not in that space. So in terms of Web3, we were seeing a lot of talk about Web3 and cryptocurrencies about 2 years ago. And then a lot of the focus has been on AI. So can you kind of explain the transition of kind of mainstream media and why did we move away from crypto and Web3 taking up so much real estate on the digital spaces to now AI? And like a lot of times I think that people do view them as disparate. So when you're talking about using AI and leveraging that to move the money, can you talk a little bit about the misunderstanding there, the myth perhaps?
Yes.
And then also how you're leveraging AI.
Yeah, so we see like crypto has been this kind of wild west, right? At the very beginning, it was used for terrible things, money laundering and drugs and all kinds of stuff. And just like the internet was built off of the explicit, adult industry. That's what created the internet. So, but God always uses what's bad, what's meant for bad, what's meant for evil, and turns it into good. And that's why I feel like he brought me into Web3, is to bring heart, to bring humanity, to bring compassion, to bring, purpose. Really, more than anything, if there's anything that we deliver to our community, is helping them find their purpose. And I feel like a lot of that was lacking in the beginning. It was very immature, right? And now as crypto and Web3 is starting to mature, it's starting to attract founders like myself, other people like you even, and people like Austin Armstrong. It's attracting people who are genuinely good human beings that see the power that is going to give back to humanity, right? We're taking power away from these big institutions, these big banks, and is giving power back to the individual and making this consensus based, right? Everybody gets to have the fair share and fair vote, and people are voting with their dollars. They either stay in this coin and show their conviction, or they rotate their liquidity, they rotate their money into another coin that they truly believe in. Some people just believe in one coin, Bitcoin. That's all they buy. They'll never buy anything else. And so we saw this huge surge because people are, right, fear and greed. Those are the two things that control any markets. Crypto market, stock market is fear and greed. In the very beginning, there was so much greed because you'd see people put $1 into a coin, and next thing you know, they're driving a Lamborghini, and you got all these young 16, 18, 20, 25-year-old kids driving around and being millionaires from crypto. Well, that attracted a huge rush of people that didn't have any business experience, that don't know how to write a business plan, that don't know anything about brand strategy, marketing plans, building tech. They didn't know anything. So they just came in and used hype. And there was so much hype in the space, there was no actual real value being delivered. That's what drew, right? That's what drew all those people in. But now that time has passed, it's drawn people like me in, not for the greed factor, but for the fear factor of helping everybody see that, hey, there's a new economy forming here. There's a whole new marketplace happening, and there's going to be a massive wealth transfer. You probably want to get in early on this before everybody else does, before the coin of Bitcoin is $1 million. Right now, it's still at 115,000, which for a lot of people is like, oh my God, it's crazy. That's so high. There's a reason why Michael Saylor's still buying it every single week, right? Why he's buying millions and millions of dollars a week in it, because it's not high. This thing could be $1 million, $2 million, $10 million for one Bitcoin in the next 15, 20 years. We don't know how big this could truly be. And so getting in now, I've always been an early adopter, and getting in now while you still can, and bringing all the good people. Like the more people we have like you, Christine, in Web3, the better Web3 is going to be. And so that is my mission, to build, to attract, and then equip those people, equip the people who are meant to be leaders in this space and that will stand against it, because we need to outweigh the dark with the light, right? We need to bring function into the dysfunction. So there's so much dysfunction in Web3, and I'm here to try to help people bring function into it, bring purpose into it, bring direction that actually isn't just about helping themselves, but helping other people.
I love it. Can you help us understand, beyond just the crypto side of things and the financial side, how are other people really alchemizing Web3 right now? What are some projects that you're most excited about?
There's really neat projects out there. One of the projects that I have is called Meme Militia. And what I do is I train and equip these creators, and I give them the tools, my Brand Butler AI tool and other tools. I give them the tools that they need to go create just captivating, culture creating memes that will hopefully will go viral and create something that will make millions and millions of people, drive that attention, right? This is an attention economy. Yes. That's what people should know about Web3, is that it's an attention economy. You're trading attention. Sometimes the attention shifts from useless coin to fart coin, or fart coin to skill stacker, right? A lot of these coins out there right now that have billion-dollar market caps don't even have any utility. It's just a coin, and they just have attention. That is their utility. So as we start to take that attention away and we steer it towards my meme militia, I've got an entire army that we've built of meme militia. They get paid to create memes. And if they go viral, they get a bonus. So inside of my economy that we've created here with Skill Stacker, is I got people that made $500 last month, $200 last month, $100 last month. They're making all kinds of money by just creating content, creating memes. I'll pay people to host spaces. I'll if they want to do live streams or create courses. So those are my content creators, and that's one utility. There's another one that I find to be really cool. It's called Money Masters. It's a buddy of mine, Joe, who I met through another community. And this guy created an idea. He said, look, I'm really good at creating liquidity pools, which is basically, liquidity is the money that is used for buys and sells of Web3 and crypto transactions. You have to have money there in this account to be able to cover the transactions of these buys and sells. The more money that's there, the more stability that coin has, but also the bigger the sells can happen without tanking people's charts. So what he does is he does liquidity pools where he'll put a certain amount of money into liquidity, and let's just say it's from 1 cent to 10 cents. He puts in this money that covers that gap. Every transaction that happens, he gets paid a percentage of that, of those fees. And so he's getting like a 500% return on his investment when he puts this money in. Then what he does is he takes 50% of the money that he makes from that and he gives it back to the community. And then that other 50% goes back into the pool to continue to build and make his pool bigger and bigger and bigger, because the more money he plays with, the more money, the higher the returns that he can get. So last month, he has 7,777 NFTs that he created. And out of all those NFTs, he paid every single person that owned one $6 for each one. Well, I know some guys that have 600 of those NFTs.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're making passive income just by owning it. They don't have to stake it. They don't have to do anything. They just leave it in their wallet. And next thing you know, next month they show up. If it's $6, they got $1,200 a month or $1,500 a month showing up on their wallet for just owning this NFT.
So it's really, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So those are just a couple of the examples.
I love it. So really it's passive income through content creation, active content creation, but then also just by holding some of these assets. And can you explain NFTs for us?
Yeah. So NFT is a non-fungible token, which means it's immutable. It can't be changed. Once it goes onto the blockchain, it's in there forever. The blockchain, if you actually imagine an actual chain, there's nodes that come off of the chain. And what happens is these things process a certain amount of transactions per second. Solana, which is where we mainly operate, it's where the most amount of active wallets are. It's where most of the energy is on all the blockchains. They can process about 100,000 transactions per second. So a new chain will be created, and then all these transactions go into that chain, and then within a quarter of a second, that chain closes and it's done forever. With an NFT, you create this digital asset. Essentially, it could be a picture, it could be a video, it could be an audio file. There's all kinds of NFTs. And you can create a use case behind it, or it could just be a collectible piece of art, or a collectible piece of music, or some sort of media asset. Like this live stream could become an on-chain NFT. And now that everybody that owns this, you say, hey, if you own the Adrian, Boysel, Christine Marie, video, you get access to go to my next conference for free. And you could create some sort of utility, or you could meet with me for 15 minutes and I'll do a discovery call with you for owning this NFT. So they buy the NFT for $1, $5, $100, $1,000, and now they have some sort of benefit behind it. Or there could just be the intrinsic value of, hey, I created 100 of these NFTs. That's the total that will ever be created. And anybody that owns these, they now have a piece of history, right? And if this thing becomes famous, like the Charlie Bit My Finger video was an NFT that got created, sold for like $2 million, $3 million for that one video.
Yes. And they probably weren't even the creator of it. They just took it and turned it into something.
Turning it into an NFT.
So is there ever, we're talking about, well, actually I was at dinner the other night where we were talking, someone was an expert in quantum and someone was an expert in AI. And, they talk a lot, just like how Web3 and AI talk. But, we were talking about copyright infringements. There's a lot of lawsuits with specifically around AI creation. And so how does copyright infringement work with the blockchain?
That's a great question. Because it's consensus based and because there's no KYC, which is known as know your customer, there's nothing in any of my wallets that is self-identifying to me. No one knows that that's my wallet. No one can prove that that's my wallet. So because there's nobody tying that to it, it's going to be nearly impossible to track down that person unless you make yourself known, unless you do what they call doxing yourself. Unless you become doxed and say, hey, I just launched this Coca-Cola knockoff. Like there's a project right now where they took the Solana logo, they put a line through it, and they call it Sosana. Right? That is very on the borderline of copyright infringement. And if Solana had a problem with it, they could take them to court and they're going to be in some serious trouble. Not saying that they did anything wrong, but they're copying it so close that could technically be. So if they have a company as Sosana and they have a corporation, then they could be liable for copyright infringement against Solana's brand.
But let's say an anonymous user, because you really can't, no one can really know who you are on the blockchain. So let's say I come in, I create, a fake name and then I create a Mickey Mouse NFT and then people can buy it. And I'm sure that already exists, but Disney can't sue me because they don't know who created it.
They have no clue who the creator is. Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that going on.
So then when it comes to this question of, we were talking about fear and greed really initially fueled the emergence of Web3 and really its popularity, right? Because so many of these platforms and technologies existed for years. One of our clients back in 2021 was doing so much with AI and RPA, robotic process automation. And then it hit the mainstream in 24 and 23. But that's been existing for decades, so much of this, that we're talking about right now, it's just really coming under the limelight. And then the question of ethics and morals come into play, where you're saying, frankly, it's actually really helpful for people like you, like your community. Your Twitter or your X is blowing up right now with all of your folks who are just really in your corner. My question is, how do you encourage them as a leader to operate under a hierarchy of any kind of ethics?
Yeah, I think purpose and social impact has to be the foundation for them, right? Everything that I do with my clients that I work with, I don't work with people. I don't need people in the community that are not social impact driven. If they're here to just make themselves a bunch of money, then great. I'm happy for them. Go do what you got to do. But that's not our community. That's not our tribe. The people who are all here, from Joe to, there's so many great people here in the chat right now. And I had a much bigger following until my account got suspended about a week ago. I had like 6,500 followers that I built. So there'd be hundreds of people here if it hadn't been for that. But all these people here have the same, they're not just like-minded, they're like-hearted. And they want to make a difference in the world. Their lives have already changed. I got to be honest. Like I know one person here that started with a couple $100. In fact, he put like 50 cents a day into my chart. And now he's sitting on 20 million of my tokens, which is worth over $100,000.
Wow.
Right, or somewhere close to that. So there's already been so many lives that have been changed here by showing up for the community, showing up for themselves, and being givers. They're doing giveaways and giving away their own tokens to other people to bring people into the community. Right, that's the culture that you have to create to have a successful coin. And to be a great leader.
That's so, Jared Beasley in Facebook said building a strong culture is essential. I just love that because, we talk about building culture and building community, but I haven't seen many people talking about Web3 recently. And frankly, I went to Bitcoin Miami in 2022 and I was just starting to really kind of get my feet wet. When life happened, and then I kind of pulled back a little bit. But, I think it's time for all of us to be circling back, because in this conversation over dinner the other night, quantum really is going to be the next thing that hits mainstream. And quantum and Web3, they're kissing cousins, right? And so what I'm curious about is for leaders who have this vision that is so big, how can they start playing with, yes, they've got their community on school, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say they're using 𝐼𝐸𝐸𝐺𝐻's school. And then it's like, okay, well, how do I, maybe they've got a Facebook group. So how can these other leaders who have a strong culture, who have a strong community, start dipping their toe in to
Web3? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is don't launch a coin. Okay, because I launched my coin actually by accident. I was doing research. I was planning on launching a coin, but I wasn't prepared to fully launch it yet, but I was testing other platforms based off of another founder. He goes, check this site out and check that site out. So I started looking at these sites, and next thing you know, I went to this one site and I just fill out this form, go to create the account, and next thing you know, the coin's launched. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And you either tuck your tail and run, or you freaking go all in. And I went all in that moment.
Good for you.
It was a huge blessing, right? Some of my biggest wins in my life have all come from accidents. But my thing was do not create a coin. That is the last thing that you need to do right now. It's going to create and put you in a category. And we'd need another hour to explain all of that. But the best thing you could do is to create an NFT collection. An NFT collection is a great place to start to create that digital asset that you can give to your community as a thing of value, as a digital asset that will increase in value. You can create 1,000 of them, 500 of them, 10,000 of them, however many you want. Just think the less that you have of them, the more valuable that they are, right? That is kind of the key behind Web3 and crypto is a fixed supply or a limited supply of something. That's what creates the value behind it. So creating that NFT and saying, hey, I know you guys are part of my school community, but if you own one of these NFTs, you can do coaching with me once a month, or you get access to this training that I'm going to be doing next month, or I have an event coming up that you get access to for free. So anybody that owns this gets free access. And when I created my collection, I created the kings, the queens, the commanders, the knights, and the soldiers. And they all have different ranks, and they all have different utilities. and values to them. So the kings and queens, like if you have a king, you get to meet with me every single month for the rest of my freaking life by owning one of those kings. And that's why they're worth $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. You get to meet with me weekly. If you have a queen, you get to meet with me monthly. If you have a commander, you get a discount on a meeting with me. If you have and so I do this white paper that I have of all the utilities, and that's just one utility for the NFT. So that would be my recommendation, to start with an NFT collection first. Make sure that the art actually looks good, because I think that there's an element to that where people are like, I don't care about the art. Well, people like myself do. I'm a collector, and I want to collect something that actually looks nice. So take time. Don't rush through the process. Create a brand with this NFT that actually something that you're proud of. I just don't put anything up that I'm not proud of. So that would be my recommendation, is to create an NFT for your brand that somehow has a form of utility behind it.
And are you seeing much diversification with the art in and of itself? Because when I was, and granted, it's been a couple of years since I've really been in this world, but a lot of the art looked very much the same. Like, for example, all those, not monkeys, I'm sorry, chimps. You know, all the, like, the apes. That's what it was. They all kind of looked very similar and just had different nuances. And so are you seeing more diversity with the art, even after like Mid-Journeys come out, right?
Yes.
There's just such a broad spectrum. Are we seeing more diversity there?
Yeah, I think we're seeing more diversity. There's a guy, and you said monkeys, which is funny. There's a collection called Monkeys, but it's spelled MNK3YS. And the artist behind this, his name's Dino, is breathtakingly beautiful art, and he does them in multiple layers. He uses Mid-Journey, he uses Photoshop, he uses AI, he uses like accumulation of 3 to 4 different things that make his stuff. Like, if you take a good artist and give them AI, it's only going to make them great, right? If you take a terrible artist and you give them AI, it's going to make their stuff even worse. So people are using AI to try to use it as a crutch, versus good artists are using it to make them great. And this guy's artwork is probably some of the best that I've seen in Web3. And the characters he's created, he just created a zombie monkey collection, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I feel like you can build value around the art itself, and then you can add utility to that as well to make it even more valuable. And you can add additional utilities down the road. Say, cool, well, now if you were the first, if you have a monkey with a white background versus a monkey with a black background, you get this utility. You can come to these parties that we're going to throw once a year. So you can create different utilities for this stuff. We don't need more coins right now. We need more NFT collections. So the art, I think, is really important. And I'm watching the art continue to elevate. There's animated NFTs, and there's, there's so many different kinds of NFTs now. It's crazy. Music NFTs.
I love this. Man, my mind is exploding with possibilities and potential. Question. Yes. So this is so fun. This is so exciting. I'm thinking about different. Okay, wait. Before I ask this question, I need to ask another one. Adrian, how do you protect your NFTs from being? We were talking about the copyright issue, and it's almost like once one exists, it can't be copied unless it's being given like permission by the creator. How is that protected?
So it's on the blockchain. So someone can take the image of my king NFT and go put it on their profile picture, or go share it, or start a company, right? But as a business, I have a business behind this, my future tech company. I can go say, hey, this is copyright infringement. This is my art, right? Just from the art standpoint, not even the utility standpoint, just from the art standpoint, this is my art. You can't use this without my permission from that standpoint. If they purchase the NFT, they're free to do whatever they want with it. If they want to go start a business with it and call it King Coffee, right? They can go call it King Coffee. They are completely free. I'm one of those founders. I don't even care if you alter the artwork. I've had other founders out there that I bought NFTs from, and they've like, you can't use my art because you changed the background, and that's copyright infringement, and sent me an email. And I'm like, dude, get over yourself, right? Those are the kind of founders we don't need in this space. So there's people like that, and then there's people that want to see their artwork, their designs, reach more people. And I'm one of those founders, but there's not really a way to fully protect it, where how you protect it is through your community, right? As the bigger your community is, the stronger your community is, they're going to enforce it for you and be like, hey, and hold your ground. So, but somebody could go right now and call and create a meme militia clown collection and create a bunch of clowns that are meme militia, right? There's nothing that can stop it. Web3 and the power, it's a double-edged sword. The power of Web3 is it's permissionless. You don't need permission from anybody. So there's a benefit to that, and there's a drawback to that. Just like any strength overused is a weakness, right? So
Yes.
the fact that you don't need anybody's permission to go create a meme militia clown collection or a dorky horses collection, right? Whatever the collection's called, you don't need anybody's permission for those things. So just another element of Web3 that I like is the fact that it's permissionless.
I love that. Okay, here's my question. So my book is going to be coming out in the next couple of months, and so I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, all right, I know I've got frameworks. Could those frameworks become an NFT if it's a visual framework?
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Mm.
You can take those frameworks and put them, and now they live on the blockchain. They're provable, they're verifiable, and they'll never be changed. They'll live forever. Literally, as long as the blockchain is around, which is always, it's never going anywhere. This technology is here to stay forever. That will always exist.
And I love it because there is something about, I'm seeing folks who have really built their brands, but they built it on the backs of other people's frameworks. And just because that person didn't have as loud of a voice as someone else, they never get the credit. And so by way of you putting your framework, its initial ideation, let's say, maybe it does get built upon, but it preserves and protects the integrity of almost like the legacy that's beginning with that person.
Completely.
Is that fair?
I have 100% right. And I have my own frameworks that I've created. This is my brand hacker method that I've created. And that is going to live on the blockchain. And part of what we're doing with AI is in our brand operating system, which is Brand Butler. You train it on your brand, then you train it, it builds your marketing plan for you. You create your offers in that system. Now you've actually created this brand in the system that is importable and exportable. So I can port it to another account, but we're doing a kind of a unique JSON file that will then be able to be distributed onto the blockchain, which will be considered an on-chain brand. So now your brand is verifiable on-chain, that this is a legitimate brand. It has a brand strategy. It has a marketing plan. Here are the offers. It's provable. It's verifiable. And now you have this .ocb is what we're calling it, like a file type that we're creating a whole new file type that's a JSON Web3 JSON file that I can go take my SkillStacker brand, import it into somebody else's Brand Butler account, and now they can go create content for SkillStacker.
Yes. I love this. I love it. Adrian, you're really at this beautiful intersection, of being able to leverage both of these. So I really respect what you're building. And that's part of when I reached out to you to be on the show, it was like, man, what do we talk about? Because there's so many things to talk about. What you're doing so beautifully, just to kind of bring it full circle is you're so involved in these projects in your community. And you're also really involved with your family. And man, is it rare to see both done well. And so I'd really love to talk about, just to make it a little bit more personal, how do we as business owners, as folks who are so deeply involved in our passions, protect and preserve, we were talking about legacy in just a minute, legacy with our business and with our art and with our work. How do we actually protect the legacy of our family?
Yeah, this is a great segue. I don't know, and I can't say with honesty and integrity that I'm doing it well. If it wasn't for the wife that I have, I think things would be falling apart around me. But I have a partner that has held me up, held my daughter up, held my family up, held our community up. Like she's a huge part of why this success has been able to even be possible. I've made a huge sacrifice over this last 8-9 months to give everything I can to this community. Like they're not just holders to me. Every single person that comes in and invests into the Stacker coin, they're humans. These are all human beings other than the bots that are there. But I literally love these people. If they got their wallet drained, I'd give them 100,000 Stacker. Like I help every single person I possibly can with the amount of time that I have. So I'm sacrificing a lot of my time away from my family to give to these people, answering questions, mentoring, coaching, live streams, chain breakers, X spaces. Like I'm doing so much. I spend more time with my Web3 community than I do with my own family, 14, 15 hours a day. So I can't say that I'm doing it well, but because I have a partner with me that we have very good communication between each other and we're speaking authentically to each other. And we've learned how to overcome some of those barriers. Like she speaks figuratively, I speak literally. That's our communication styles. So we've had to learn how to bridge those gaps, and we still run into challenges in that, but being able to make sure that we're communicating with each other authentically and honestly. And we have it one on my whiteboard in my front door, brutal honesty. We have to be brutally honest with each other. That's the only way that it's going to be successful. And there's days where she's like, I just need you to shut it down. And I need you to take a step back, or, hey, I need you. Right. And so just being able to have that level of a relationship with her has given me the ability and the freedom. She gives me so much freedom. And so I got to give the credit where the credit's due. She's really the one that deserves the credit for what I've been able to accomplish. I mean, even more than me.
I'm so grateful for that perspective, because so many, and I just want to shout out Jason on Facebook said, you're one of the best people he knows. And I love it. Adrian, you're bringing up a really, really important point, which is, man, we need the other people in our lives. And I think that for the entrepreneur, for the person with the big dreams, there is this weight, and it's unfounded weight that I have to do it all. This is all predicated on me. But when we have a true helper, whether it's the helper where they're the ones bringing in the income while I create, or maybe they're the ones keeping the fortress of our kingdom intact while I am bringing in revenue and creating, whatever the dynamic is, I'm just really reminded, based on what you said, giving credit where credit's due, we cannot do this alone. And it speaks to the community you're creating in that regard. But it's a beautiful reminder that behind the curtain, that's where so often when we pull the curtain back and expose the Wizard of Oz, we see that it's really a broken life, even though the external is really impressive. So the strength and health of what's going on behind the curtain is so often predicated in our ability to, or lack thereof, receive help.
Yep. And it's not easy when you have a community that is as strong as ours. It's a powerful thing and an empowering thing to have. And it's validating for my wife to see and other people in my family and community to see. But there's moments where I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I'm like looking at the chart. I'm like, oh my God, where are we? Oh gosh, somebody sold. You just can't help as a founder to have those moments where like, dude, $4,000 at once. Like, what are you doing? Do you not see that this is going to be $100 million coin? Like, what is wrong with you? But people are going, the worthy will include themselves and the unworthy will exclude themselves. And that's just the nature of this. So learning how those were some of the pains in the beginning. Now I see the chart drop. I'm like, cool. Hope you enjoy your $4,000 because you're going to be buying back in when it's at 10 million or 100 million or $1 billion coin. And you're going to be pissed that you sold it. But hey, you're going to be telling that story. Man, I bought Skill Stacker when it was under $5,000 or $5 million. Right. So just being able to take those things and just let it go and not take it so seriously and get on the roller coaster that is Web3.
Yes. Well, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Then it comes down to, you're talking about the community, why we really need each other. We're talking about needing our partner behind the curtain. But then at the end of the day, what is my own emotional health to ride the waves of everything externally that's happening? And do I have like the inner wisdom? Because we got to trust that, we can take an action, but then we blame other people if we're doing it because of somebody else. So we have to know that this is what's right. You said that the worthy include themselves and the unworthy exclude themselves. So if I'm fundamentally making a decision predicated in fear, that my emotions are going to reflect that, versus 100%. Making a decision predicated in trust, in worthiness, that I am welcome here, I belong here in this community, and I'm not going to live off of fear. So
abundant mindset.
Yes. Oh, yes. Because even this morning I left a message to my partner and I was like, man, abundance is in the present moment. If I'm living in lack, that means I'm not here right now. I'm in the future or in the past. So if I'm present here and now, then I cannot help but operate in abundance and thus worthiness.
That's it. That's beautiful. Living in this moment. This moment will never exist again as it just passes, right? What you're wearing, what I'm wearing, the face, like where I'm sitting, the color of the glow, like all of these things. Who's here in the chat? Like this will, in all eternity, will never exist again. We're consciously creating. And that to me is one of the coolest things as a creator. Is in my blood. I can't help but not create. This is just the coolest thing to sit in that. And if you sit in that, your frequency is going to go up, your gratitude goes up, and you just become a magnet for the things that you want in your life.
Man, I love what you just said, that this chat, everything about this moment will never get it again. What a blessing. Well, y'all, we live such rich lives. We started out this conversation just with an awareness of there's been death this week. There's loss this week, regardless of whatever side, even just remembering 9/11, it's been a heavy week. And even in that, there is so much gratitude for the present now.
That's it.
Adrian, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for what you're building. I'm grateful for everyone who's following you and learning from you. I'm grateful for the good ones who are leading the charge. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you. It's always good to see your face, see your smile, and hear your voice, man. We hit it off immediately when we connected, and I can't wait to be at another event speaking with you again and hanging out.